Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt from Divination Counseling Service. I haven't been on for a really long time, and it's strange kind of getting resituated again. But what I wanted to do today was present the eclipse charts, both of them actually, uh, with the asteroids. So we're going to look mainly at the asteroids. Actually, I'm doing a lecture on this next Tuesday for the Uranian group. And so what we're going to be looking at is more of a condensed lecture. So I'm going to be looking at both the full moon of March 25th, and I'm also going to be looking at April 8th, which is huge because it is an eclipse that goes across the United States East Coast. As a matter of fact, I will be, it's visible here, believe it or not, where I live. I think we're only at 85% or something, which is pretty good. But I'm actually going to go visit a cousin who's more in the 97 to 100% range, closer to Erie. So it's very exciting. I'm very excited for the event. And one of the things I want to make a note of is that there's going to be a lot of information coming out on this eclipse. It's very important to our country, obviously, but it's just important to all of us, even as individuals. So with that said, the first things I'm going to show are the full moon chart. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I do want to go through at least the list of asteroids for the Aries point and for the sun axis. Now, when I get to the actual solar eclipse, which is huge, I'm going to spend a little bit more time because that solar eclipse has an exact conjunction, not just the sun and moon, which we would expect, solar eclipse, but it is also the moon and the sun are directly conjunct Chiron. And that is very important to our process as human beings here on Earth in this particular plane. So with that said, I'm going to start pulling up the charts because this is set up as a lecture, and my lectures are quite long. So I want to make this video a shortened version of that. So let's now move into the charts themselves. So here we have the full moon chart itself, and just to kind of get a view of the chart, you can see my extra ring points there. We have a sun, which can be a little depressing actually, in the third house for this Washington D.C. It's right inside the third house with Mercury. The node is there and Chiron is there, so it's a Chiron node. And one of the reasons why people could be a little bit disturbed during this time is because the node Chiron is telling us that there are connections and people that we're dealing with in our lives where the rules just don't apply. Either there are no rules, as is the difficulties that we keep going through as a government, but also just the old, I'm the exception, I'm better, and so, it could also be something like that. So it could be either way. Now, the moon obviously then is in the 9th house, and it's not far from Rockefeller, okay, which is money. And it makes me wonder, now, yes, the economy with this election, all that, but our economy is doing somewhat okay. I just kind of feel that that actually could have more to do with the security, but also this could have to do with, again, what we're going through as a government. Okay, so it's really interesting. I am a very political person. I don't do politics, however, I don't do web channels for politics. I listen to a lot, but I don't do that. But I do think it's kind of interesting that you can hardly look at these charts for Washington, D.C. and not see what's going on already. And one of the things I do want to point out at this point is that as I was taught about eclipses, they can occur literally weeks and weeks and weeks before they actually hit. In other words, there's a build up as you go into an eclipse. So a lot of times what we know the eclipse is going to be about is materializing before our very eyes, like a month before or better, regarding what that is coming in that eclipse. So even though I'm actually doing this on March 12th, which is literally um, almost 2 weeks from this particular eclipse, I can still tell you this is what's going to be happening, because what we're going through now, 2 weeks ahead of this, we are already feeling. Okay? And I think that that's monumental. The other aspect that's in here that's really worthwhile looking at is the Apollon, which is right off the midheaven, okay? And it equals down below Jupiter. Now, if you look at Jupiter and you look at Apollon, they're almost too far apart to be an aspect. However, considering now Jupiter is still out, okay, of this a little bit, but this is actually something that was going on and is now leaving, okay? And I think that this particular eclipse highlights it's leaving. And what does that mean? Okay, well, let's look at it. Apollon is your business. It's also expansion, just like Jupiter's expansion. Okay, now expansion can also be related to things like the government and business. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Okay, Jupiter is also legal. Apollon is telling us there's a lot of legal issues going on. The business, as I'm referring to it, is the legal business. In other words, we're now seeing where that particular business has a lot of flaws. Just one way of looking at it. The fact that Cupido is on, and here we are, right here, is on the ascendant of this chart at 8 degrees, it's also opposing, and this is an aspect, both Hades and Kronos. And what this is many things, okay? First of all, it's how authoritarian leaders are screwing up. Kronos to Hades. Bad leaders equals families. Again, it's amazing. This is already happening in the Gaza Strip, in Gaza. So look at the Cupido, look at the Apollon, look at the Jupiter, look at the Kronos Hades, and look at them in a different way. That's what the chart is asking you to do. This is definitely something that we all need to look at. This war business, how it's affecting families, and how really corrupt leaders, and we have several, are getting away with things. We need to be questioning them, Sphinx, before they make fools of us all, Alicia. Okay? So just again, and I'm not specifically saying this particular, well, yeah. Yes, I am. There are 3 people right now in the world creating chaos. And I think without even saying their names, we all know who they are. And it's not Biden. So, just so you know. As a matter of fact, he's the grandfather voice of this whole thing, trying to hold it down. It is something that's occurring, I believe we'll find out later with even Putin himself. So now, and Netanyahu himself. So, not to mention our former guy. So as we get into this, one of the things I love to do is, we're going to do it right now, we're going to go right to that sun axis. As you can see, I've been working on it. Now, here, let's talk about what are the asteroids just in this lineup. I'm going to do it that way today. I have a whole sheet for the class when I teach it, but for us today, I'm going to expedite. We have Lie as in lining. Sun, Moon, Eos. Right here. Okay, all within a degree, because that's how close I keep this stuff. So someone's lying and is causing chaos. I think there's several, as I said before. Across the way, here we have Ceres, the mother, caretaking, food, food, nourishment. What's been going on? Okay? And there's lies associated with all this, people. I mean, this is really something we need to look at. Hypnos is already there, as well as an ascendant. So we have this vertexual ascendant. We have Ceres, which is food. We have, look at this one, criminal things that are going unnoticed, hades or mistakes that are going unnoticed to the deceptive planet of Neptune. So there's some hateful deception going on in this chart. And we know that's true. There really is. And people are losing sleep over this, and I believe that's true. Now, if we go to the other side of this, okay, we're going to go, and this is how it works. We put 2230 on that, and we get, so let's just go there, okay, so we get 26, 27, and let's see, it's 5, 27, 30 about. It's a little less. All right, right there. Okay. What's the first thing that pops up on our midpoint list, people? That's right, Uranus. Uranus Sun, Uranus Moon. Can we even predict these changes? Can we even predict these sudden events? This could even be friends in a personal life, kind of acting out like, wow. Okay, sort of happened to me recently, not with a friend, but more with an acquaintance. But sometimes what comes out of people's mouths, very surprising. Woo! Okay. The other thing I want to point out here is Mercury-Pluto and how Mercury-Pluto equals Saturn. Okay, and then this is make-make. So how is this all going to help us to remake things? And over here, doo-doo, the crap, okay, the crap. How do we remake the crap? Well, it's going to happen through transformation that occurs through communications. Mercury, news, okay? So I think a lot's going to happen. And I also study, and in my class, not only do I teach and lecture, and now I've just recently become a corporate astrologer, even with all those things going on, okay? And that's true for all of us. We're all going through things. And I guarantee you 50% of us are going through things that either relate to a building or to our families, okay? A lot of family stuff going on. And my feeling is it's all related to these transformation and changes that will occur. When I took class, one of the things that the teacher says, his name is Gary Christian, he made the comment that we're going to be experiencing things in the full moon, but by the time we get to the new moon, it's almost like a new world. Well, we're kind of getting the hint right in the full moon. Mercury, Pluto equals Saturn. And then make. Let's remake it. Let's redo this. Now, the asteroids that are occurring here are, no shocker, Aragon. Excuse me. Let me, I apologize. I have allergies terrible in the morning. And so Aragon is a suicidal aspect. Kind of, so is that Alicia that I showed you, you know, that we looked at when we looked at the full chart. But now we're getting it as Aragon. And it's coming with karma. So there is going to be some self-destructive actions that will feel rather karmatic to us. There's also the actor. So people are not what they pretend to be. Okay, just please note that. Memory, especially as it relates to the past. They're really going to try to twist that past as much as they can. But we have to use our memories. Okay, because memory is there. Don't let someone else decide your memories for you. Iyengar is running with doo-doo, so I'm going to be really honest with you. there is some very structured crap being thrown at us. So in other words, it's premeditated. And it also equals money, which is right on Saturn. Okay, money, money, money. We always go back to money. That's a thing here. The other thing is melpomene, which means something is getting worse, and the irony is house is also there. So I think that we could look to the house, especially between the full moon and the new moon, as perhaps there's a problem there. Prometheus acts a lot like Uranus. We already see Uranus just kicking butt all over this chart. Changes upon us. Changes upon us. The unexpected is upon us. People will react in strange ways. Remember that Prometheus is also the god that gave us fire. Just remember that. The other thing that's here is a new asteroid that deals with suggestibility. It deals with suggestibility. It's a newer asteroid. I want to double check it in my notes. So what is going on here is people are being led by the nose. That's suggestibility, and I think that you have to understand that that's an epidemic in some cases, okay? And I, again, don't have to go into details about how that could show up. So as we look at that particular axis, we can see what the sun is trying to teach us. As we go to the Aries point, which I'm going to do right now, and we start here, veracity is the first one, and those are lies we tell ourselves that will make us happy. And then Icarus is there, and which means you're risking something by doing this, by having this belief, and it is creating chaos. Across the dial, we have new beginnings, particularly in the health arena, or with health, or something about health, and also new beginnings that are dealing with withdrawal, but it's also destruction to rebuild. We have graves, so we're talking about deaths. We're talking about praying and meditating, okay? This is all in the same line. Also, you see here, Savo, okay? So what are we saving? I hope we're saving people, just between you and me. Then we come up with a narcissist with Olympus. You know what that is? That's somebody who's like overly positive, overly confident, and they're a narcissistic tendency to begin with. Holy crap. You don't even have to go very... And Barlow, they talk incessantly. Okay? Lies, Laplace. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Can't make this stuff up, people. You cannot make this stuff up. Laverna is how, in many ways, we're being taken advantage of through the blarney, the lies. But it's destined, because it's time to wake up to the Merlins of the world, the people who are manipulating us. And it's going to happen. But look to politics, because that's where it's going to really, really show up. Okay? Now, everything I've said can also apply to us each individually. And if you live anywhere but the East Coast, your charts are going to look different, with the exception of this chart. This one will not look different. Okay? So when I say the beginnings and the narcissists and the... Look around! Because you're seeing it, even if you're not in this country and you don't have the former guy to deal with. The other thing is, Alicia is there, again, more self-sacrificing, humiliating actions. Smiley. Never trust the person who comes out smiling. Smiley. Urania is in retrograde, but Urania is not only astrology, and here we are, but it's also that concept of logical thinking. How are we not being logical? Looks pretty bad, actually, in here. And it's about our conscience. Tune into your conscience, people. Turn into your higher self. That's also what Asteria is asking us to do. Go meditate. Take a few breaths. Then go look at what you've been looking at. And I think you're going to see it differently. Unless you're somebody like myself, who's definitely not gullible, I tend to be a little bit more skeptical. And if you have those kinds of qualities, it's actually better for you. But here you go with this logical thought and suicides, or like, you know, I don't want to say suicide because it's not. It's a lot of times just self-destructive actions. Okay. Now, computers are also Uranus. Remember that there could be a lot of stuff coming out the next several weeks related to AI and the computer. That may be all parts of what is happening as well. Remember, Prometheus is giving us fire. Maybe somebody's giving us AI, even more so. So there's a lot that we could be thinking about with this particular chart. Now, at this point, let's move on. Now what we have before us is the new moon chart, which is also a huge eclipse. Now we have, look at this, Chiron, sun, moon, okay? And look at this, 24, 24, 20. In other words, they are combust. They are exact in this particular eclipse. That means that Chiron is a huge player in this eclipse. So I want to talk about, I have a lot of notes on this, what that could mean. All right? So let's start off with the fact that Chiron is in Aries. So is the sun and moon. But right now, I want to look at how Chiron is affecting the sun and moon because it's huge in our messaging. Here, we will have a search for our identities. And this is individual. So this is going to relate no matter where you live. It might not show up in the house of politics, and I'll get that in a minute. But what it will do is it will show up somewhere, no matter where you live, with all three of them probably showing up in some house or another, okay? Again, exact orbs. It's unbelievable. What we're going to be noticing during this time is a lot of trailblazers. These people are the whole essence of, think about a Chiron as a warrior, okay? So if Chiron is meeting with the sun and the moon, is that a call to the warriors or is it a call to all of us? And I have to put myself in this category, who have very strong Chirons to start the process by which we can heal and change. Remember, it's the wounded healer. And anyone who has it very strongly in their chart is generally wounded and has used that wounding to help heal, not just themselves, but others. These people tend to be idealistic. So during this eclipse, there's a tendency to be very idealistic, to break barriers and act idealistically. So there's this real kind of shining on the world like, you know, we can't continue being this hateful. We can't continue being this awful. We can't continue genocides. We can't continue wars. We need to heal. We need to heal badly. And that's what this round of warriors is going to be talking about. It's a time of action. And we are going to begin a time of action if it hasn't already started. What I thought was interesting is how we're going to be going through the longest election in history because, that's right, sides have already been taken. A time of action. A time when we will ground ourselves with this planet. That is critical. We need to ground ourselves, Saturn, within this planet. Okay? This is the beginning of new healing energies, and the 0-degree orb will teach us oneness. Do you remember me going through that whole thing? 24 minutes, 24 minutes, 24 minutes. We're not talking any orb here. We're talking combustion. That need for oneness is going to become very, very strong. We need to be one. Not 1,000, not 100, not 10. One. The whole world. We are one. We are one. With the sun, we gain a full sense of self. In identifying ourselves and our life path, we're going to begin to understand that is the reason why some of us are here on earth, to create that oneness, that sense of peace, that healing we so desperately need. It's a more spiritual energy, as you can tell from my diatribe here, my little, thing, soapbox. Strong sense of destiny. I don't know, one of the things I've always felt that. But then again, I'm a Chiron person, and Chiron people feel that. But I think this is something that's going to happen to people whose Chiron is, not so strong. It's just in the chart, But they too will begin to feel this sense of destiny. We're being called here. Spirit, Astrea, is calling us. Destiny is calling us. Karma is calling us. With the moon, we're going to notice an increase in our emotional intensity. It's going to be hard to understand the effects that we have on one another. It's like we need to do that. We need to understand the effects that people have on each other. That, you can't make some flippant remark and not feel that, you might have done some major slighting there. It's a difficult placement for all relationships because you have to kind of rise above the pettiness and look at the deeper, bigger pictures. It's about grounding and balance with room for transformations. In other words, this is all about the change, right? We're all going to be concerned with this change. Now, I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the others. Just kind of look at this chart, though, and notice how different it is. And not just because, the rising's different and it's not even that. It's the charts are different. They're very different. Chiron was conjuncting a node in the last chart. Now it is conjuncting us. So that the rules don't apply is now going to be in a bigger scale of a picture. Okay? So these are things that we want to pay attention to. This is a really important point for us. The other thing is, I think we're going to be bombarded with news. As, Apollon is coming into, it's not in, here we go again. This is more in the politics house. This is not. Really, if you really wanted to know what is most affected in here, we would have to go up to these and we would see that we're going to be going this alone, that we're going to be looking at a lot of people literally self-destruct as this happens. Body language is going to be very important to reading whether or not we're going to be able to interact or expand. And businesses have to look more toward serving people. Okay? Also, Atlantis coming from the 12th, which is again secrets, but it's the idea that Atlantis is also about integrity, and it's also about wanting to keep things secret, you see, because it is important that people's secrets, not necessarily public people, because I have a really different attitude about that, but the individual has a right to privacy. And that privacy issue could come up with regards to businesses that are trying to serve. But notice how those businesses trying to serve are retrograde. Okay, something to think about. How we all tend to feel like we're going through something right now. There's a lot of pressure on us. Okay? So there's a lot of pressure to be multitaskers. That's another thing that's going on right now. It's like all of a sudden we have to do a zillion things. That's our personal lives, though. So let's look at, as I love to do, the axis for And again, I'm not going to go through the transits on this one, just like I didn't do in the last one, for the simple reason that if you're interested in astrology, that's something you would probably do on your own. I'm only going to be here to layer on the parts of the chart that some of us might not be as familiar with, such as the TNPs and the Trans-Neptunians or the asteroids. Now, as I switch the dial, again, I'm going to switch to, yeah, I did it again, only I wasn't quite there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so, and I'm going to do this exact, I should have done this to the last one, not that it matters, because, you know, ultimately, as you notice, nothing changed. But I like this. This is an authoritative announcement. This is a big announcement, okay, which is the Mercury and the Chronos. And there's so much going on. There's so much going on here in this whole lineup of planets. So let's start with our axis here. Okay, I don't need that one. I need, see, too many notes. This is what happens when I prepare for a lecture. Okay, lots and lots, but lectures are pretty long. We're looking at 1924 cardinal. Okay, so the aspects, and I'm going to stay with this, just this point, and then I'll go across to this point. Okay. Not only is the sun, moon, and Chiron there, but so is Phaethon. Phaethon is vehicles. Now, we think of vehicles for transport, and I'm not saying it can't be related to that. There could be some kind of big thing related to transportation, and I'm not going to say there isn't. But realize that any time, how do I put this? Okay. There is, in the United States, I have to go to politics, sorry about that, I apologize, anyone who's not very political, just to give you an example. We have a front runner, former president, who is actually a front man for a lot of other things. Evangelical Christianity, although I don't even know why they would choose that. But then again, you know, it's destined, whatever. In any event, he is their vehicle. Point taken, right? He's their vehicle. So don't think of Phaethon only as an airplane, a train, a car. No, 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 no. Anything that's going to help you implement your desired outcome is a vehicle. Okay. We also, with Chiron, just to go through this, keyword things. Wounded warrior, rules don't apply, alternative. Okay? Phaethon is, of course, a vehicle. Teacher, mentor is there. So teacher is also here. What are we learning? Mentor. We're being mentored. Do you know that's what Chiron was? That's what's sort of strange about this. Sphinx. We're questioning what we don't know or don't understand. We're questioning it. Urania, again, is retrograde, but it's logical thinking. It's also things like astrology, and coin represents money. Okay, that's all there at the sun. Okay, all of it. Across the way at 424 mutable, and you can see Hidalgo right there. Rosetta, the truth that sets us free. Scapulus, here we go with the health asteroids again. Money asteroid Midas is a large amount of money. That's large money. We're going to take the plunge. We're going to take the chance. We're going to jump in. It's retrograde, so I don't think it's as big a plunge. Merlin is, again, those people that have the ability to actualize. So actualization. Merlin's like a magician, but not always good. So I don't want to put a good or a bad on that. I'm just going to talk about it for what it is. It's the people who have an ability to actualize things. Now remember, it's retrograde. It's running exactly with wake. So we may become conscious of it. Okay, we may become more aware of it. Hidalgo is a retrograde, and it's going to refer to the fact that by not speaking up or speaking out, we're not doing anybody any favors. That part of being conscious of something is to then realize you got to take the next steps, right? Malit is telling us that we're pondering. We're just pondering and wondering, and we're just wondering what's happening at this 424 mutable point. We have to learn to listen to our gut, hara. Gut's also intuition, but also watch your gut, because all of this, if you have a nervous gut, if you've got problems with your gut, that can be an issue. Remember, health asteroids are in there. Nostalgia is about memories, but remember, are they honest? Some of us don't have really good ways with memories. And how about Ballstrom? To talk incessantly. Who's talking incessantly right now? Lots, actually. And the last but not least, and I just threw this in here, usually it refers to a brunette, okay? But it's also burning, like as in cremation, like we're going to burn something. Now, we could look at that a few ways. So I'm just going to leave that one hang out there because let's be honest, there's 24,600 and some odd named asteroids. We do tend to use a lot of them. However, there's always going to be a group of asteroids that perhaps don't apply as readily unless they're in an individual chart. In other words, they don't apply to they do, but not, they're more of an individual. It's like, oh, I know somebody who has, that kind of thing. Now we're going to go to the 11 fixed point, which is 1154. So we're actually looking at almost 12. At this point, we see Libitina, which is tears. There's a lot of crying. There's a lot of sadness. Hephaestus is talking about how they're odd couples. And this is strange because it's not just like you could look at odd couples and say, oh, they don't even go together or they don't look at it. But think about odd couples in business. Think about odd couples in politics. I think about the fact that the former guy just entertained a dictator, okay? Maybe they have a lot in common I don't know about, but on the surface, it looks odd. And with that, we also have something about hitting its mark. Something's going to hit its mark, and it refers to neighbors. That's almost scary, okay? And there's a haircut in there, but again, I'm not going to go with that. One of the things I am going to point out, though, and you can see it immediately, is Hopi is right at the opposite end. Just like I pointed out, Hidalgo. Hopi is like over there. So now we're going to be looking at the 2654 mutable, and Hopi is about boundaries. Remember, we just got done with neighbors. Something hitting its mark in neighbors. And then we have boundaries, okay? It also refers to indigenous populations and Spanish cultures, but I think we're talking more about boundaries here. The other thing that's there is Cortusa, I think is how you say it. And this is something that we actually treat like an ascendant. Okay, so if you think about what an ascendant is in a chart, it's your tools that you use to get through whatever is going on. Well, one of the tools that is being used right here is boundaries. So boundaries are going to be a huge factor when it comes to, asbestos, odd couples, even the haircut part. I think is going to. The reason I kept it in there is because when I started looking at everything else, it's like could be part of the story. Who's trying to cut something? Well, one name comes to mind is Putin. So I think that, we may want to be looking out for that with this particular sun moon axis. Well, and let's go this way. Sun moon Chiron aspect. So everything I just got done talking about also is implicated along with Chiron. Boy, are we in for it, right? So let's move to the very last thing I want to go through. And again, I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter, so I'm rushing through them. And again, if you have comments or questions, I'd love to hear from you. I really would. So here we are at the 0 degrees of Cardinal, where we have Vesta, you can see it, with chaos. Okay, so we got goals and work, okay, and then we have chaos, and you know, they're kind of hanging out together. So our work and our goals are somewhat chaotic right now. I can speak for myself, but I have an Aries point, like I have a very strong Aries point in my chart as well as Chiron, so I can really identify with a lot of what I'm talking about today. My work is a little crazy. It's one of the reasons you haven't seen me. I'm working more. One of the things that happens to us as astrologers is very often as we get older, that's when our careers will begin to take off. And it has happened to me. So Orpheus at 0 degrees is tears, death, music, and poetry. But remember, death showed up in, I believe it was, and I don't even know if I talked about Anubis being on the full moon of the 25th chart. So death is, I think I did talk about it somewhere else, but death is really prominent right now. And I think we keep going back to Gaza. Nobody wants to see that anymore. That killing stuff is just, it's like old world. We're not old world anymore. And that's what we're going to be reminding ourselves as we go through prior. What happened in the past? And how has that caused chaos? But you know what's here? It's Gawain retrograde, which is somebody or some things that are intellectually submissive. And I'm wondering if where the death isn't occurring, those particular people never get a say in their government. They are intellectually submissive. Just, I shake my head, okay? Looking down here at 15 fixed, because this is, of course, the strongest axis. We have 15 fixed is litigious for disruptions and interruptions. So expect it. And I'm hoping ceasefires. Dolero is money. Myers is also intuition and telepathy. Guys, work on your intuition and telepathy as we embrace the new world, which is what's happening right now. Please, please, I encourage you all, work on that intuition. Work on that, because that's going to be a gift of the new world, and we want it. Intuition and telepathy. Pandora, surprises. But it's also about fairness and being fair. Asteria is still here. Hasn't moved. We're still praying and meditating and salvo, trying to save. We want to save. Money, yeah, but I think people. I think people here, okay? Because it's coming with graves. Okay? Some people on a personal level, it can be Graves' disease. Okay, so be very careful. Hubris is retrograde for destiny and karma. It's all destined, people. The more we understand it, the more we understand the more we become intuitive, the more we become spiritual, the more we begin to understand these concepts of how A plus B equals C. In other words, you act this way, you're going to have this response, and it's going to go this direction. We have to know these things. Hubris, as I said, is retrograde, but I still think it's because hubris is that karmic destiny, okay? And I think that we're going to start sniffing it pretty good. Zeus is also around there, and that's the asteroid Zeus, not Zeus the Trans-Neptunian. I do want to qualify that. It reads like Zeus, though. It's the seed. It's stimulating excitement. It's inflammations. It's fires, explosions, guns. It's war. Okay? I just think we're going to become people who don't want war. And the more we don't want war, the more loudly we will be heard. It's going to be loud. So now I'm going to go across, and we're going to do the 2230 spot, which you can see immediately points to Icarus, immediately points to Pythia. So there's our next axis. So starting at 2230, Icarus is all about taking risks and championing. Oh, champions there. We're championing. Patsy, willing victim. Okay? Machiavelli, which is the cunning, the intrigue, not to be trusted, underhanded behaviors. Children. Children. Okay? But also the child within. Also, have you ever seen the ex-president? The former guy? Holy crap, let's talk child. He's infantile. Then we have Adamite, which is similar to Adamitas. Okay, so it's not the asteroid, it's Adamite. And Adamite is to be stuck, obstacles and delays. And that's what we've been dealing with, just been dealing with delay after delay after delay after delay. Especially when it comes to things like ceasefires and, things that really are important. Now, we cross over, and you see Pythia is there. You see Juno is there. We'll get there in a minute. By the way, Juno is retrograde. Okay? It's 730 mutable, and we see things like Dolores. And this is really about things getting worse. Now, we use this a lot in medical astrology because it really can talk about the illness. But to me, things are getting worse. And they are! Okay? Oya is retrograde, which is like plutonic energy. Okay, so transformative, goes really rather slowly, but truly, truly effective. And this can also indicate violent weather. Okay, partnerships, also accounting. Remember money's like all over the place around here? Well, partnerships and accounting. So you want to make your partners accountable, as the United States is trying to do with Israel. But it's also about accounting within partnerships. Destiny is retrograde, but it's also there. I'm telling you, everything that's going to be happening and everything we're doing, including this particular eclipse, which I've been I've known about for years. We've been waiting for this. It's all destiny. It's destiny. Chase means we're going after something, so it's our destiny. Palace in retrograde is talking about politicians, people pleasing, strategic perceptions, but also those people that say the things they think you want to hear. Remember, Barassises was in the Aries point of that new moon, which is the lies we tell ourselves because we think it's going to make us happy. I think we need to think again, because that's a faulty perception. Maybe not like Weasley, but it's still faulty. Okay, look at that. Where am I? Okay, so now we're at Sheldon. And I saw Terpsichore hanging around too in one of these charts. I didn't put it in. It was slightly out. I think it was only out by like 3 minutes. But I'm really strict when I do this work. And it's that body image, that physical image, the body image, the physical body. Okay, and let's be honest, that's playing a huge part in the political arena right now here in the United States, and it comes with politics. Pythia is that you can use your intuition because it's an intuitive faculty perceptions. But with regarding to how things end, there's going to be a misinterpretation or a misunderstanding of intuition or premonitions. In other words, you might know that things are going to happen. Oh, they're just going to happen like this. They're just going to happen like this. And then everything goes the way you think. But you misinterpreted something. And it probably turned out a little differently than you thought. So all of those things, especially the second list, will be exact regardless of where you are in the world. They are the world points. The sun and moon axes were done for Washington, D.C. So with that said, I will leave you. And as always, until we meet again, I wish you only happy readings. And enjoy your eclipses. And remember, as you go from one eclipse to the other, that the world is really changing.